So I literally just got done watching GizEdwards' My First Lucid Dream video, in which he tagged me, SpaceTimeBadass and TheRaRaRabbit to actually make our own responses with our own first lucid dreams. And since I was just editing videos and so already had Audacity open, I decided to just record the video right now, right after watching, while I'm here at my computer. So don't mind the lack of video, this is going to be an audio based video and you can minimise and listen at your own leisure. Before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to Norijok, my $15 patron on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the channel. It's support like yours that allows me to keep making these videos. So, my first lucid dream. This is going to be a bit of an interesting story, I think, because I actually made a video talking about this as one of my earliest videos, like way back, probably 2015 still, or like the start of 2016, but I think it was like the end of 2015. So what I'm really curious about, what I really want to see is actually how much of the details when I actually recall the dream now for this video match up with what I said in that early video. I'm curious basically how good my memory of that dream actually is and how much has faded out over time. Okay, so my first ever lucid dream, I was around about 16. So something that I don't think that I ever touched on in that first video is exactly why that first lucid dream happened. At that time in my life, I did indulge a fair bit in a certain recreational herb that I'm not going to name because I don't want to get demonetized. As some of you may know, said herb suppresses REM sleep, but what happens when you take a break from it is that you then get REM rebound. Now I'm not 100% absolutely certain about this because my memory of the time is a little bit bad, perhaps for obvious reasons. But I seem to recall that this was precisely why that first lucid dream happened, because I had basically taken a break and in that time I got REM rebound and was having a crazy amount of dreams. One of those dreams ended up being my first lucid dream. So I find myself in this street in what I believed for whatever reason was Africa. And I'm walking down this street and there are a couple of local little kids playing football. They're kicking a football about. Or it may have been that one of them was actually cycling on a bike and the other one was kicking the football, because I seem to remember one of them was on a bike or there was something to do with a little bicycle involved. And I'm walking down the street and one of them kicks the football to me. So naturally I kick it back and I keep on walking down the street. Now at the end of the street in front of me I see this big vending machine. It was really odd, it was really out of place. This place that I was in Africa looked like a really kind of poor, run-down village. And there, right in the middle of everything, was this vending machine that just looked so out of place, it looked like it had come from another world. But I don't actually think it was the vending machine in particular. In fact, I'm not really sure what it was. But for some reason, I suddenly, spontaneously just realised that I was dreaming. Now what's important to realise at this point is that I didn't really know what lucid dreaming was. I believe I was vaguely kind of aware of the concept of lucid dreaming, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't really know if it was real or not, and I had no real interest in it. I hadn't actually really explored the subject. I think I just vaguely heard of it from a friend before or something like that. And I think there are also some references to it in a book I was reading by Carlos Castaneda, but that was about the extent of my knowledge. Suffice to say though, I didn't really have any lucid dreaming knowledge, and so this realisation that I was dreaming was the most surreal and weird feeling ever. It's one thing to know that you can lucid dream and then have your first lucid dream. It's another entirely different thing when you have no concept of what a lucid dream is and then you experience one for the first time. Now I remember at this point feeling really thirsty. And I don't know if this was like real thirst or just something in the dream. It's possible it was real thirst because at this point in my life, I used to always have a glass of something by my bed. I'm not sure if at this point in my life I was drinking fizzy drinks or if I was drinking water. Because there was basically most of my teenage life I was drinking fizzy drinks all the time. But there was like a 1 year period where I quit and just drank water. Then I went back to fizzy drinks and now in 2017 I quit drinking everything other than water again. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. Basically, I always got up in the night to actually drink, and because of that, that's probably why I was thirsty in my dream, I'm guessing. So I'm in the dream, I'm looking at the vending machine, and I notice it only gives water. For whatever reason, it was just water. And so I go up and I put some money in the vending machine, and I go to get the water. And for whatever reason, it didn't give me a bottle of water, it just gave me an actual glass of water. I have no idea where the glass came from, I think it just basically appeared out of thin air. So I had this glass of water, and I immediately drank it. And I remember just thinking, wow, this tastes so real. And not only that, but it tasted really good. And it was so refreshing. It was like the most refreshing thing that I've ever experienced in terms of drinking something. More refreshing than any drink has ever been in the real world. And right at that moment, right as I drink it, I remember waking up and all I could think was, what the hell was that? What just happened? I was just aware that I was dreaming in a dream. And so very quickly after that, I began to research lucid dreaming and what I just experienced, and I read up quite a bit about it. But it wasn't right then when I actually decided to learn to lucid dream. I read about it and I kind of don't think I delved in deep enough because I don't think I realised that you could have them yourself of your own accord. I think I basically just read what a lucid dream was, a little bit about it, some people's experiences and so on, and didn't really get this idea that, hey, you can learn how to do this and have them almost every night if you actually practice long enough and hard enough. Now, it was actually 1 or 2 years later when I ended up having my first actual controlled lucid dream, and by controlled I don't mean like controlling the aspects of the dream, I just mean I actually controlled the process of having it. It wasn't spontaneous, it didn't just happen to me. So over that time, until I had my first actual lucid dream that I induced myself, I did end up having about 7 or 8 more actual spontaneous lucid dreams that happened to me. They weren't really in a short time frame. It was like, I'd go a month and then I'd have one. They were very, very short. They weren't that interesting or that special. But I was kind of curious about them and I thought, oh, this is a kind of interesting experience. This is kind of cool. But because they were short and because I didn't really do much in them, I didn't really get that interested from these experiences. I thought they were cool to have, but I didn't really have any desire to learn how to do it myself, so I didn't explore it any further. Now once again, I'm not sure if it was a year later or 2 years later, but sometime in that time frame, I then got interested in lucid dreaming again. Now the thing is, I'm not entirely sure. I don't actually remember what it was that got me interested in lucid dreaming again. Maybe that most recent lucid dream was interesting and made me interested in it. But I have a feeling that it was related to a conversation that I had. At the time, I spent a lot of time on Mumble, which is a chat server thingy, like Ventrilo or TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever. And I would sit on this Mumble server with my friends. We ran some game servers like a Minecraft server and stuff like that. And we would chat on there. And one of my friends was talking about lucid dreams that he has and like really crazy dreams of like fighting zombies and stuff like that. And so I think what happened is basically I got discussing my lucid dream experiences and he was talking about his, and his lucid dreams sounded way, way cooler than the short, uneventful ones that I had had. And I think at that point, basically I started reading about lucid dreaming and how to actually induce one yourself. As I said, I'm not 100% sure. It could have been something else that got me interested, but I think it was that discussion that I had with my friend. So around that time I started researching lucid dreaming and I went to this site, and I believe it was Lucidipedia. It looks like the site that I used at the time. It's possible it had a different name then. I don't really remember what the name that I typed in to get to the site at the time was, but I think it was Lucidipedia. And I remember I think I created a dream journal there that I didn't actually write in that often, and I don't remember like my account on there or anything like that. But it was there that I first discovered some of the techniques like wake back to bed, mild and so on. So the first method that I decided to attempt was mild, using a mantra. Now the first night that I attempted it, I was really, really excited for lucid dreaming. I'd been reading about it all the time and so on, and so I thought, okay, I really want this to happen. I went to sleep, I woke up after my alarm, I attempted the mantra and went back to sleep. I did not have any lucid dreams, but when I woke up I was really, really excited. I felt like I was close, I felt like I was going to have one. So the next night I did the same thing. I set my alarm, I woke up, I repeated my mantra, and I went back to sleep. And sure enough, I got lucid. Now unfortunately, I don't actually remember for certain what lucid dream I had at this point. I'm pretty sure I know which one it was, but I'm not sure if this was the first one I had with mild or if it was one I had a few dreams later. But basically it was a really short, uneventful dream, which is why I think it was so kind of difficult for me to remember which one was which. But basically the dream that I do recall is I was like on this street corner. I became lucid on this street corner, and like I looked around and there were people everywhere, and I decided to go up to a house and like knocked on the door, and that was it. I woke up. Something like that anyway. Even if it wasn't that particular dream that was the first one I had with mild, it was something equally uneventful and equally not so exciting. Then around that time I started learning more, reading more on that website. I discovered Dreamview shortly after. I also started watching a couple of YouTube channels. One of them was, I believe, a channel called Lucid Dream Tricks or Lucidology 101. I know one of those was like the name of the playlist and the other one the name of the channel, but I can't remember which way around it was. I just know it was a channel that had the stop, drop and roll technique on it, and I never had any success with that, but it was the channel that got me interested in the idea of wild and eventually encouraged me to find another way of doing it. So that was the only lucid dreaming channel I'd seen initially, and then shortly after that I think I discovered Giz's channel. Shout out to Giz if you're actually listening to this. And so both channels, along with Lucidipedia and Dreamviews, were now my sources for lucid dreaming information. Over the next 6 months or so from that point I got really into lucid dreaming, and I was actually having them with quite a bit of frequency. But then, you know, life happens, and I had a period where I just really wasn't practicing lucid dreaming, and for a long time I just relied on getting spontaneous ones. Then I would go back to lucid dreaming for like 6 months non-stop, and then I would stop again, and it kind of went on repeat like that for a few years. I don't remember the exact time periods, but I remember in 2014 being big into it, and then stopping for like the start of 2015, and then when I released my first lucid dreaming video, I got really back into lucid dreaming around that time, because I actually originally made that video not because I was really into lucid dreaming at the time, but just because I didn't know what to make my first video about. And so I was like, hey, lucid dreaming, I know about that, I can make a video. And when I did that though, like just making that video about lucid dreaming, it kind of refreshed my memories, got me excited about it, and so I started doing it again. And from that point onwards, like I think the longest I've taken with not trying to lucid dream is like maybe a month and a half, something like that. So yeah, that's been a bit about my first lucid dream and my kind of lucid dreaming story so far. Now comes the most difficult part of tagging 3 people. Now I actually have quite a few people in mind, but a lot of those people don't really post anymore, and so I don't know if they would ever actually post a video response. And a few of those people are people that I suspect the other 2 people tagged by Giz are going to tag themselves. So if I don't tag you, it's either because you haven't made videos in a really long time and I'm not sure if you're actually going to see my tagging and actually respond to it, or possibly because I suspect that one of the other 2 is going to tag you. So I'm going to start off by tagging Stefan from howtolucid.com. Now I'm also going to tag AJ, aka AJ the Sage, aka Astral Jupiter. Now I know that I've already heard your first lucid dreaming story before, but I did check your channel and it's not on there since you came back the last time, so I thought it'd be cool to see a new video about that. And last but not least, I want to actually tag Tim Post from snoozon.com and Lucidipedia. After all, it was at Lucidipedia where I learned my first lucid dreaming techniques. So stay tuned, hopefully the people I tagged will respond. As always, remember to subscribe for more videos, check out my Patreon page if you want to support the channel, and click one of the videos on screen if you want to keep watching or listening.